Curly Howard usually brings to mind chaos, barking, spinning on the floor, and that glorious nyuk-nyuk-nyuk laugh that made the Three Stooges feel like a cartoon come to life. He was the bald little tornado in the middle, the guy who could turn a pipe, a pie, or a frying pan into pure mayhem. But the man behind all that noise was carrying a much quieter pain. Jerome Curly Howard was insecure, physically worn down, unlucky in love, and pushed through a brutal workload while his health was clearly falling apart. His funniest years were also the years that drained him the most. Drop a comment below. Tell us which stooge you always liked best, Curly, Mo, Larry, or Shemp, because by the end of this story, the laughter may feel a little different. The tragedy of Curly Howard is worse than you can imagine. The Laughing Machine.
Was he a fat one? Yeah. That was me!
Curly Howard did not enter show business looking like the character everyone remembers. He was born Jerome Lester Horwitz in Brooklyn in 1903, the youngest of 5 brothers, and to his family he was simply Babe. He was athletic, musical, shy, and far more sensitive than the wild man he later played on screen. His path into the Three Stooges began after his brother Shemp left Ted Healy's act. Mo suggested his kid brother as a replacement, but Curly did not yet look like a stooge. He had thick hair and a mustache. Healy supposedly thought he looked too polished for a knockabout comedy, so Curly shaved his head and stepped into the role that would make him famous. That one physical change helped create a comedy legend, but it also wounded him. Curly reportedly felt unattractive without his hair. He often wore hats in public, and he worried his bald head made him look childish. The cruel little irony is that the image audiences loved was tied to something that made him feel embarrassed. On screen, though, he was electric. Unlike Mo and Larry, Curly had no deep vaudeville training. That worked in his favor. He seemed unpredictable because he really was. Directors could leave space in a scene and trust Curly to fill it with noises, movement, panic, and strange little bursts of genius. The pain behind the noise.
Well, at one time, I remember very well, we had a little dog, and I came home, and I wasn't that crazy about dogs, and this dog went out with me for a walk, and he saw Curly coming down the street, and he ran right in front of a car and got killed in front of us both. So I kept running because I didn't want to go home, and Curly was so upset. But Mo had the brother to this dog, and he gave it to Curly, so we had another dog to go with it.
The Curly everyone loved was loud, silly, and almost impossible to hurt. The real Curly was much softer. Away from the camera, he could be quiet and withdrawn. He loved dogs, especially strays, and often took them in while traveling. There's something heartbreaking about that detail. The man who took endless fake beatings for laughs kept rescuing creatures that had been left behind. His private life was messy and painful. Curly married 4 times, and several of those relationships ended badly. His second marriage to Elaine Ackerman gave him a daughter, Marilyn, but the marriage ended in divorce. Later, his brief marriage to Marion Buxbaum became ugly and public, with arguments, accusations, and newspaper attention that only added pressure to a man already breaking down. Curly was also generous in ways that left him vulnerable. People close to him described him as easy to take advantage of, especially when women, salesmen, or real estate people told him what he wanted to hear. He spent freely, moved often, and needed Mo to step in to help manage his money. The tragedy here is not just that Curly got sick, it's that he seemed to be surrounded by constant motion when he needed stability. He was famous, beloved, and financially successful, yet he was also lonely, insecure, and self-destructive. The more audiences laughed, the more his own life seemed to tilt out of balance. The body gives out. By the early 40s, Curly's body was sending warnings. His weight, blood pressure, and heavy habits were catching up with him. The Stooges were working constantly, filming shorts, making appearances, and performing for troops during the war years. The schedule would have been difficult for a healthy man. Curly was not healthy. By 1944 and 45, fans can actually see the change on screen. His voice sounds rougher. His movements are slower. The wild spark is still there, but it flickers. In some shorts, he looks tired in a way that no gag can hide. Moe noticed and pushed Curly to get medical help. In early 1945, Curly was hospitalized and diagnosed with serious health problems, including severe high blood pressure, retinal hemorrhage, and obesity. He needed real rest, not a quick pause before another round of slapstick. But the machine kept moving. Columbia's comedy shorts were profitable, and Curly remained a major part of that success. Even when he was given breaks, the work resumed. The saddest part is that Curly's decline wasn't invisible. People could see it happening, but the act had contracts, deadlines, and expectations. Curly had become too valuable to stop, even when stopping might have saved more of him. The final fall. The breaking point came on May 6, 1946, during the filming of Half-Wit's Holiday. Curly was waiting to shoot the final scene when he suffered a severe stroke. When he was called to the set, he didn't respond. Moe found him sitting with his head down, his face changed, unable to speak. For a comedy team built on fake violence, this was brutally real. Curly had spent years pretending to be knocked senseless. Now his own body had betrayed him in a way no one could laugh off. Moe had to watch his little brother, the baby of the family, suddenly become helpless. The film had to be finished without him. The scene was reworked, and Shemp eventually returned to fill the spot. At first, Shemp was supposed to be temporary. The hope was that Curly might recover and come back. That hope faded slowly, which may have made it even more painful. Curly did make one brief cameo after his stroke, appearing in Hold That Lion with his brothers Moe and Shemp and Larry Fine. His hair had grown back, and for a fleeting moment, all three Howard brothers appeared in the same Stooge short. For fans, it was a fun bit of trivia. But knowing what came next, it feels more like a ghostly goodbye. The last years.
There we were, in mud, up to here.
It's oh! Oh! Oh, how is it?
I'll find out.
What's the idea? Who interfered with my romance? Gentlemen, please, please.
After leaving the act, Curly's life narrowed. He married Valerie Newman in 1947, and by many accounts, she cared for him during his hardest years. They had a daughter, Janie, in 1948. There was love in that final chapter, but not rescue. Curly suffered more strokes. By 1950, he was using a wheelchair. His diet was restricted. He moved in and out of care facilities. The man who once bounded around the screen like a human rubber ball was now dependent on others for basic care. His mental condition also worsened. In late 1951, a hospital supervisor reportedly told the family that Curly was becoming too difficult for the staff and suggested moving him to a mental hospital. Moe refused. That detail says so much. Moe may have slapped Curly on screen, but off screen, he was still the older brother trying to protect Babe. Curly was moved to Baldy View Sanitarium in San Gabriel, California. He died there January 18, 1952, at only 48. The youngest Howard brother, the most childlike Stooge, the man whose face still makes people laugh generations later, had lived a short and punishing life. What makes Curly's story so sad is the gap between the character and the man. The character was unstoppable. The man was fragile. The character could take a hammer to the skull and pop right back up. The man could not survive the pressure, the illness, the insecurity, and the loneliness that gathered around him. Now it's time to hear from you. When you watch Curly Howard today, do you mostly see the comedy genius, or does knowing the pain behind the performance change the way you look at those classic Three Stooges shorts? Let us know in the comments section below.